Usually, there's a problem with Steam, and there's no games playable on the Mac. So I'm playing off my MacBook Pro, and we're gonna see if we can find any games. Steam has more compatibility with Windows. A lot of these games are available for Windows only, as you could see. Windows only. Brawlhalla, not bad. Call of Duty. It's 112 gigabytes, bro. That's crazy. Car Mechanic, Windows. Counter Strike, you can play it on Apple. Cuphead, Apple. Windows only. Dead by Daylight, Windows only. Windows only. Windows only. Windows only. It's an aquarium. If y'all ain't played it's an aquarium, bro, you basically have an aquarium and you feed fish. And you defeat enemies as you go. But don't mind the background. It was my dream car. Like, not dream car, but a car I planned to get. But now it has changed. So this will be changed soon. Banebush actually looks pretty good. Observation duty 7. So honestly, I wouldn't mind getting this game. I'll add it. Alright, the purchase has been completed. We'll go ahead and install Banebush. Hopefully it's good. I haven't even seen anybody play this, so we'll see. Alright, we'll just go ahead and go in it. New game. The entire game is designed by authors to be very red. Adjust the red saturation to your comfort level, referring to the image above. Make sure it's good up here. I think it's good. We good. Very red. Where silence reigns, unlike the noisy cities, in the darkness that swallows the light, and among the dense forests, near the village, the secret hides. People whisper tales about a creature living in a dark forest. Living in the dark forest. This is the story of Banebush, a mighty Leshy. If you have ever faced him directly, yet anyone stepping into the thicket feels his presence in every trembling leaf, in every creak of the trees. East hide in the burrows, birds fall silent, and trees bow to the forest master at the sound of his ancient roots moving. Everyone's blood runs cold in his presence. This guy must be pretty scary. He was feared more than any creature. Is that him? That's why he's called Banebush. That is Banebush. Sometimes, as you wander the forest, you hear creaks and cries. Those are restless souls still roaming among the oaks, seeking peace for their wrongs against the Leshy. For centuries, villagers passed down legends of Banebush, about how he drove travelers mad, leaving them lost in the forest and his terrible deeds. Anyone who disrespected his realm faced his savage wrath and became food for worms among the ancient trees. What happened to his head? Fear Banebush, child. His mouth is like stuck. And if you meet him, run without looking back. So what? He still roams our forests? Just listen. During the bloody times of patriotic war, our village fell on hard times. Bandits began raiding and tormenting the villagers. The strong men who could have resisted the hooligans were taken to the front. Only boys and young lads were left with girls, no one to defend the village. So those scoundrels ran amok. They took the last dishes, stripped our village to the bone. Only one brave boy decided to help the village. He ventured deep into the forest to find Banebush. Our village was part of his domain, so he should protect it if properly asked. He was ready to do anything to drive those cursed outsiders from the village. For better or worse, the boy found the Leshy. There he is. No one knows the outcome of their meeting. Lindsay Banebush took the boy under his protection, turning him into a wild wolf. In his new form, the brave boy tore apart all the marauders. But others claim Banebush destroyed the poor boy to ensure no one disturbed his solitude. It doesn't matter who thinks what. What matters is that neither the boy nor the marauders were ever seen again. Is it marauders? I don't know. Chapter 1. In my childhood, Grandma told many stories. The ones about forest spirits and local folklore were my favorites. I will always remember her tales with warmth. Especially love stories about the evil Leshy, Banebush, who, according to legend, lived in the nearby woods. Grandpa often jokingly scared me, saying Banebush would come at night and track me into the forest if I didn't dig in the garden or misbehave. Frightening, yet truly wonderful and carefree childhood in the village. I miss it. After Grandma's death, I inherited her house. Sometimes I feel ashamed. Sometimes I feel ashamed that I didn't take care of it. I went once to handle the paperwork, but then never found the time. I'd like to sell it, but who wants an old ramshackle hut in the middle of nowhere? Would have thought, but now this house has become more useful than ever. It's no secret that getting involved in criminal schemes can lead to serious trouble. I didn't think it would happen to me this time. I can only hope that Foeman and his thugs won't find me here. Dang. To lose a package of bagged drugs weighing a couple kilograms. Freaking awesome. I went to pick up the goods outside the city. Everything was calm and smooth. I arrived at the spot, dug up what I needed, head back along the same route. On the way back, car cut me off. Clearly, this didn't bode well. Before I could understand anything, I saw 3 hulking men stepping out of a black car with tinted windows. Of course, with a gun to your head, anyone would hand over a package of drugs without argument. My hide's worth more to me. I'm ready to swear this was a setup by Foeman. Either way, I'm in deep trouble. I know full well how couriers are treated in these situations. Go to the police? What's the point? What did you tell them? Someone stole your drugs? Perfect. What a fairy tale life. I just hope no one knows where I am. I left most of the things in the city. There didn't seem to be a tail. I need to lay low. The road from Moscow took about 6 hours. Maybe I can get some sleep. Felt strange coming back here after so many years, as if I had been avoiding this place all along. During my absence, the village became completely abandoned. My childhood had seemed brighter. There were more people. Now there's almost no one left here. Maybe a dozen old folks living out their days, and me running away from my problems. Dang. I quickly found the road. In childhood, my neighborhood friend and I often raced from Grandma's house to the bus stop. It seems this path is forever etched in my memory. The house looked old but stood sturdy despite years of loneliness. The roof sagged slightly but looked reliable. Paint had peeled off, revealing the wood darkened by time. Yeah, this house needs long and expensive repairs. I'm afraid it'll cost more than the house itself. Let's look around, because before I enter the house, I mean, I already know what's in there, basically. Not already know, but I can guess that it's just my grandma's stuff, so let's take a look around first. After skirting the property a bit, I reached the backyard. On the crooked structure that once served as the house of a scarecrow, a raven sat motionless. It was frozen like a stone gargoyle and didn't flinch at my presence. With a tinge of sadness, I noted that the bird, monotonously blinking its eyes, was the only living soul I'd encountered since getting off the bus. I've never seen monotonously. Definition. I'm gonna put it. The entire plot was a muddy plain, washed out by recent rain. What a dump, I thought as I looked at it. There used to be a big garden here, tended with elderly presents by Grandma and Grandpa. Before it grew fragrant mint and lemon balm, which Grandpa used to brew aromatic tea. Actually sounds like that'd be some bomb tea. Looking at the remnants of my grandparents' once glorious garden, I realized it died when its owners passed away. I shifted my gaze to the old stump that, as I recalled, Grandpa used for chopping firewood. Looking closer, I noticed something sticking out of it. I walked closer. An old rusty knife was stuck in the stump. I squatted and examined it closely. A couple of cracks in the time, darkened handle, and a noticeably dull blade in some places. Could it be useful to me out here in the wilderness? I think, why would I just leave and not take, unless this is like someone else's property, but I mean, this is my property at this point, so I'm gonna take the knife that's sticking out of the stump that that my grandparents used to use. I pulled the knife out of the soaked wood and weighed it in my hand. It was lighter than it looked at first glance. It might come in handy. Yes, better keep it with me. I didn't find anything else interesting around the house, just dirt boards and dry overgrowth everywhere. I didn't want to linger outside any longer. Alright. The door yielded to my efforts with a loud creak. The influx of air stirred the dust, making it swirl around the entire room. Everything looked as if time had stopped from the moment I was last here. Dang. On the shelf stood an old TV with a large crack in the screen. As far as I remember, it didn't work. Father accidentally broke it when we were sorting through things in the house after Grandma's death. Back in the early 2000s, Mom and Dad bought it for the elders, spending part of their savings. I remember us all sitting together in front of it, listening to Grandpa swearing as he adjusted the antenna cable to get a signal. Now, the TV was just a gloomy witness to past joys, silent, covered in dust. On the wall, in an ornate wooden frame, hung a photograph of Grandma Rita. Her face in the photo, taken on a photocore, was calm, with a faint trace of fatigue. There was nothing special about this photo except the quiet sadness of days gone by. On the stove, covered in a thick layer of greasy dust, stood an old kettle with worn spots on its body. Grandpa used it to brew fragrant morning tea for Grandma and me. Made from carefully grown and harvested garden herbs, mint, lemon balm, and oregano. I remember during one of those tea times, Grandma was baking something delicious in the oven while telling me how Dad and Grandpa spent an entire day bringing this stove from the neighboring town. This was right after Grandma complaining to Grandpa about her stone stove, how it had cracked. At that time, gas was just being installed in the village, and the stove became a new wonder of technology for her, as she liked to say. I looked around the room that opened before me, feeling how the house no longer felt as familiar as it once did. This was no longer the cozy summer retreat where I used to spend my time with great pleasure. Peeling walls just everywhere, a greasy bedspread from the perestroika era, and the smell of mold. I managed to pay for electricity and gas in the city. There's enough food for tonight, and tomorrow I can go to the village store. After all, the house had everything needed to lay low for a while. Time is now 8:31 p.m. 2 bars of signal, July 5th. Of course, a couple missed calls from my friends. Foreman? Maybe I should turn off the phone just in case. Though I doubt Foreman would think to track me through my phone. The bed, which had miraculously survived all this time, creaked. Old springs were felt beneath thick fabric. What a dump, I thought. In my childhood memories, the house really looked better. It was alive. Hard to imagine how grandparents lived their whole conscious lives here. I think they would have been happy anywhere together. Mom said that when Grandpa died, Grandma took it really hard. Her health quickly deteriorated, and she refused to go to the hospital in the city, no matter how much Mom insisted. Bro, did the grandpa die or the grandma die first? Now I'm confused. I gotta look back. But I guess Grandpa died first. Less than a year after Grandpa's death, Grandma passed away. I hope they're happy together now. Well, I mean, that explains it. But did I read it wrong before? Nah. I need to stop thinking about sad things. It's depressing enough already. Stop ruining an already lousy mood. Maybe you should have some tea? Is there herbs in here already? The flame ignited. Looks like the gas is on. Damn, it's all such a blur. Thoughts about the bastards I'm hiding from wouldn't leave my mind. How long can I stay holed up in this dump? Like a mouse? A month? A year? If they find me, then what? It's clear they won't listen to me. First they'll break my fingers, then toss me off the bridge into the river. Maybe they'll give me a chance to work it off. and I'd have to slave away for them for free for who knows how long. Easy money turned into problems I don't know how to fix. In endless attempts to figure out how to cover the loss, I achieved nothing. My savings were around 90 grand, earned in my spare time. Of course, that's not enough to pay them off or replace the goods, and I don't have the right connections. The package delivery coordinates were given anonymously, and the only person I know is Pasha Foman, a recruiter in this business, and incidentally, 2-meter tall boxer and enforcer. I regret abandoning my attempt to succeed in tech repair, but back then, it was a struggle to make ends meet. I started to drift off into sleep, but the kettle was on. One by one, childhood images come to mind. Children's laughter, bright sunlight, happiness, no responsibility. My biggest fear back then was Grandma scolding me if I didn't come home before dark. Well, yeah, dude, there's like no lights anywhere. If only I could stay in that moment. I'd never ended up in the situation I'm in now. Fortunately, time doesn't lie, life moves on. I jumped to the football field that was the pride of our village. Sturdy goals, even with nets, just like real football players. As kids, we could play football on that field all day long. Friendship, laughter, gum, fresh air. And in the evening, Grandma waited at home with warm tea and the most delicious food in the world, made with love. In the dream, a memory appeared as if it were real. One evening in midsummer, I decided to take a shortcut through the forest to Grandma's house. The local boy said you could noticeably shorten the route if you went straight through it without turning. Alright. My girlfriend's dad had to come in and grab what he needed. This is his house. I'm not going. I'm just streaming a game in the office. Well, the closet room. Alright. I was running late for dinner because of an overly long game of football. These people, man, they're telling him to take the shortcut. Not looking good. The forest surrounding our village was very dense and impenetrable. It rustled with many voices of nature, as if trying to drown out the sounds of village bustle. Grandma and Grandpa never let me wander through it, warning me I'd get lost and a wolf would take me away. Well, the wolf was apparently the kid. I moved straight ahead, confident I was heading in the right direction. The sunlight filtered through thick branches, casting a play of light and shadow in the background. The forest sounds grew eerie. I began to feel as if someone was watching me. The thicket grew denser around me, and I started to realize I'd been walking too long, even though the boys said it wasn't far. Ooh, cold chills. Wandering along the forest paths and aimlessly weaving between trees, I completely lost my way. I'm lost. Am I going to die in the forest? I thought, on the verge of tears. Uh-oh. Which way? Straight? Left? Right? Oh. Thinking... I don't think I should turn at all. No, because I feel like I'm gonna walk straight into... You know what? If we're gonna go straight into it. It is what it is. So, So we gotta have another option, right? If I was walking, I would go straight and right. I don't know why, but I can figure the house is like that. Like, okay, from your guys' angle, that way. Like, and you just, I don't know, bro. I'm going right. And then we're gonna go straight. Or am I supposed to be seeing something in here? Okay, we'll go right again. And straight. Straight. And straight. The dense grave stretched endlessly. The crunch of dry leaves echoed underfoot, and the air was filled with the forest scents. I took a deep breath, hoping to catch the scent of pine needles and fresh moss. But a stench, appearing out of nowhere, sharply hit my nose. I grimaced and held my breath, peering into the thicket. Suddenly, a dark and terrifying hunched figure leapt out of the forest. The monster wrapped in roots like armor, materialized among the trees and stared right at me. My heart pounded out of my chest, and a long scream escaped my mouth. Without realizing it, I bolted with all my strength. I leapt over obstacles, scratched myself on bushes, anything to keep me from stopping. My lungs felt like to burst, but I'm run without looking back. Alexei. That's his name. Yeah. First reaction to the dream slipped out loud. Bro, that's traumatizing. And you're back at the house. What a load of crap. I'd almost forgotten about the incident. Back then, crying and scratched up, I ran home shouting, "Grandma, I saw the bone bush." What the bone bush? Grandma, I saw the bane bush in the forest. After my outburst, Mom gave her a hard scolding, saying her scary tales were driving me crazy. Seems like it, as after that incident that I started having nightmares so often. So maybe Mom was right. Without Grandma's creepy stories, I might have been less jumpy. I long ago convinced myself that back then, my overactive imagination mistook a tree stump for a monster. Still don't know what I saw that day, but one image always remains in my memories of it. The Leshy, just as Grandma described in her tales, stood in the middle of the forest staring at me with its red eyes. My thoughts were interrupted by a sharp knock on the window, as if someone had thrown a stone at it. They couldn't have tracked me, could they? I don't know, man. No, someone shouldn't even know about this place, unless he tracks me through my phone. No, that's just paranoia. I don't want to cut myself off completely. I need to check what it is. I was about to be a leshy. There's nothing outside the window. Just the yard as usual. Just run down. Life gets better. I'll definitely tidy this place up. My grandma and grandpa really love this place. I need to pay my respects and my departed relatives. Freak. Where are you flying, you crazy bird? Probably lost it scaring me like that, you lunatic. This kind of stress could send me to an early grave. City or here, it's all a madhouse. Need to relax, pour some tea, and eat something. My crow's telling him to leave. I cleared the table and started preparing my first dinner in the village in a long time. I pulled out bagels and a couple of candies from my backpack, hastily bought at a kiosk near the station. I brewed myself some green tea with mint. Funny, it looked just like it did in childhood. Those were good times, though even last week wasn't so bad. So you're just drinking old tea? Like this tea was like concocted by your grandparents? And you're just heating it up and drinking it? Pushing my gloomy thoughts, I took a sip from my mug, imagining it was the same tea Grandpa used to brew for me as a child. But alas, the taste was far from the same. Yeah, 'cause it's old. I felt a little better. But I couldn't sleep peacefully without making sure another bird wouldn't fly into my window at night. It was already dark outside. I looked around, trying to spot that crow, but there was no one in sight. The same overgrown yard and dense forest with trees swaying gloomily in the shadows. After a long day and a warm drink, I felt sleepy. Going back to bed. Tonight I could really use good rest. But as always, anxious thoughts crept into my mind before sleep. Coughing with my body slowly lowers into the grave. Each thud of earth on the lid sounds like a final heartbeat. I'm gone. Just cold and silence remain. My body will dissolve into this earth, decay, and become food for worms. I'm almost out of the grave, her eyes swollen from tears, unable to believe her son is now in this wooden box. Will she think it's some mistake? That I'll rise any moment to hug her? What will I leave behind? Everything that seemed important will turn to dust and rot with me. I will be forgotten. Everything I did, good or bad, will all be swallowed by the earth. Jeez. Am I just letting this fly buzz? In the dead of night, something suddenly yanked me out of sleep. The village's nighttime silence was defiled by an incessant, nerve-wracking buzzing. A stubborn fly, as if choosing me as its nighttime victim, ruthlessly disturbed the peace. Persistently trying to get into the house, it seemed to be testing my patience. Yeah, why is it trying to get in the house? And it's night. I got up from the bed and looked out the window at the silhouettes of the dark forest swallowed by the night. Stubborn fly incessantly crawled on the glass. I stood watching the insect, feeling anxiety creep over my mind for no apparent reason. Gonna knock it out. Ooh. Chapter 2. That was a big... It looked like a moth, but it looked like a big fly, too. This ancient master feels like it was specifically designed to destroy my back. As usual, I woke up drenched in cold sweat thanks to another stress-induced nightmare. Well, no comfort, but I'm alive. Fair trade, I guess. Outside the window was a gray and overcast day. Yeah, doesn't look like anything good will happen today, but I'm used to that. Getting stretches in. Oh. After stretching a bit, I decided to take a walk around this godforsaken village. I kept thinking about the local store. Hopefully it hasn't closed yet. Otherwise, I'd have to rely on my childhood survival skills and go stealing apples from abandoned lots. How simple and carefree it would be to wander around looking for dubious food, if not for my recent, less than legal affairs. But who am I without them? I need to stock up on food for a couple days and see what's going on around here. Maybe I'll run into some locals, get the news, find out how life has changed in this corner of the world since I was last year. The early morning in this backwater is wrapped in an eerie calm, as if everything here is already dead, not just sleep. The air is fresh, as if it was just washed with fabric softener, and cold. Cuts straight to the bone. For July 6th, it was unusually cold, almost jacket weather. Still, there was something about this morning scenery that momentarily brought back a taste of life. It felt like I was 12 again. I remembered how, as kids, we'd run around here from early morning, darting between houses with the neighbor boy under the grumbling shouts of old folks and barking of dogs from other yards. The air filled my lungs and my head even spun slightly from its freshness. The scent of grass and damp dirt surrounded me. It felt pleasant. It was unusual to breathe so easily, not as usual with city dust and grime. Walking through the quiet village, I seemed to slow down myself, adapting to its rhythm, its leisurely pace of life. The silence and calm around me unintentionally made me reflect on the past and ponder the future. I looked at the empty windows and peeling walls. People used to live here, but now everything is crumbling, as if mocking my memories. Now there was only decay and an oppressive sense that the past was irretrievably gone. I was almost at the store when my gaze caught on a house to the left. Once a sweet old lady lived there, a darling granny. She always sat by her house, offering us apples if we could show her where the Big Dipper was in the sky. Of course, we didn't know where the Big Dipper was and just pointed randomly at the sky. Granny didn't seem to care. She gave us apples anyway, chuckling to herself. Now her house was completely dilapidated, overgrown with bushes. But the apple tree behind the house was still standing. Maybe I should pick a couple apples for breakfast. At least I'd save some money. My stomach was already growling with hunger. It was time to decide where to get food today. To the right was a store where I figured I could grab a bite, assuming there was anything left inside. To the left was an abandoned lot with a crooked fence behind which the apple tree still stood. I stopped pondering where to go. How about let's stay away from the trees for today and then just go to the shop. I stopped 5 steps away from the store, which looked almost comically like an island of nostalgia in this forgotten place. Old but sturdy, the peeling groceries sign above the door seemed inviting despite its worn appearance. And there's probably nothing that's like I can eat in there, so I'll end up having to pick apples anyway. The windows were intact, and through their cloudy panes you could see the shelves and displays filled with something. The building's age didn't seem dilapidated. Instead, it gave it character, speaking of quiet confidence and resilience against time. The air around was filled with the same familiar sense of the village. For a moment, I felt like a kid again, coming to the store for ice cream and a waffle cone.
Closed. There has to be someone in the only store in the village. Hey, anyone there? The sound of my own voice felt deafening in the silence. I kept tugging at the handle, not giving up on opening the door. Hey! Someone called out behind me, and I flinched so hard I almost lost my balance. Young man, why are you banging on the door? Sorry. I thought the store was still open. It is open. Just no one's inside. You need to buy something? Yeah, I wanted to see what you've got. Well, come on. I'll show you what we've got. I haven't seen you around here before. You a visitor? I nodded in agreement. What's your name? I'm Lexi. I introduced myself a bit awkwardly. Ah, Alyoshka, huh? You want anything? I gritted my teeth. I hate being called Alyosha. Let's just go with Alexi. Is it Alexei or like Alexi or Ale? Oh no. Well, Alexi. I'll stick with that. My name is Stepan. Lepte Stepan Volkovich. Pleased to meet you. I shook hands with my new acquaintance, who seemed to be a local, though I didn't remember him at all. Well, come on. What are you standing around for? Stepan took out a bunch of keys, felt around for the right one, and calmly unlocked the store. I followed him inside and found myself in a dark room. Hold on, Alexei. Just a second. What's he fiddling with in the dark? Looking for a sturdy stick to... I'll turn on the light. Just a moment. You from the city? Yeah, I'm from Moscow. I muttered reluctantly. I'm not used to sharing personal details with strangers, but Moscow is so huge that this information didn't really mean anything. Oh, really? So, what are the young folks in the capital up to these days? Do you have a profession at least? The question was asked with such intensity that for a moment I felt like a schoolboy being called to the principal's office. However, I decided not to dodge an answer with partial truth. Yeah, I studied to be an electrician in college. I smirked to myself. No way I'm telling about my actual profession. Yeah, I deal drugs. Oh, an electrician. That's a useful trade. You know, my radio here recently stopped working. Maybe you could take a look at it. Electrician? I can't pay you for the repair. No money to spare these days. But I'll treat you to some tea. What a gig, I thought to myself with irony. I wasn't ready to return to my real problems yet, so I wasn't in a hurry. As long as I can remember, fixing various devices always came easily to me. Nothing too complicated, of course, but I could handle an old radio. I remember back when I was studying to be an electrician, I went to a couple of practical trainings out of pure curiosity. The job wasn't hard. Maintenance of apartment building, electrical panels. Once I even found a stash that a courier colleague had seemingly hidden quite securely. I glanced at Stepan again, then shifted my gaze to the old radio sitting on the edge of the table. Why not help the old man? A radio's probably one of the very few forms of entertainment here. Right? Alright. Let me take a look. Yes, it's over here. Go ahead and take a look. Look it. Let's go look it. As I expected, an old radio, clearly made back in the Soviet Union. My grandparents had one like it. think if I tried, I could probably find it somewhere in their attic. Honestly, I think fixing it shouldn't be too difficult. Let's see what we got here. Connect the scheme components. Alright. Should I connect them all? Okay. So this is a little bit of a puzzle. That looks good. This looks good. Ready? Nice. Looks like it's ready. Time to test it. Oh, look, it's working. I actually stepped away for a second, and the radio stopped playing. That's, yeah. Well, you got in golden hands, a real craftsman, I can tell. You know, this radio isn't just any ordinary one. One time there was a funny story about it. My cat back then, Vazia, little black devil he was, and I closed the store and sat down to dinner. Well, sort of. I sat down at the table and gave the cat some soup in his bowl. I turned on the radio and they're talking about some kind of dance music. I hear Vazia start mewing. I hear Vazia start meowing, and suddenly, as the music starts playing, he gets up and starts dancing on his hind legs. I laughed so hard. Later, I tried playing music for him again, but he just gave me a lazy look and went to sleep. Stepan looked at me as if he was gauging my reaction to his story, but I was just sitting there confused. Thank you, Alexei. I won't mind. I won't die of boredom now, that's for sure. It's nothing. Why is it not playing? I gave a crooked smile and spread my hands. Well, as promised, let's go. I'll pour you some tea. You'll tell me how the city folk live these days. I hadn't eaten anything since morning. The old man seemed nice enough. Figured I wouldn't say no to some tea. I nodded in agreement. Well, that's wonderful. Let's go. Walking behind Stepan into another room, I couldn't shake the intrusive image of a cat dancing on hind legs. I could just let this go. You watch Vaska dance for 1 hour. Bottle with murky liquid. I didn't even watch it for an hour, bro. I was watching it for like a couple minutes. Bottle with murky liquid. Photo. Bear text. Let's see the bear taxidermy. Oh, boar. A boar stuffed head on the wall. I never understood how anyone could like that. It looks silly with these bulging eyes and exposed tusks. It's clear no one has touched it for years. So much dust. Toolkit. The tools hang in a neat row, looking more like decorations. It's obvious some haven't been used in ages. The rust and dust speaks for themselves. Stepan probably used to do a lot of handiwork back in the day. An old photo in a crooked frame, clearly not hung yesterday. Who is she? Probably Stepan's mother or wife. She looked as stern as my college instructor. Is that moonshine? I thought. I looked like regular village hooch. It looked like regular village hooch, but with the added bonus of a couple flies floating inside. Oh, I didn't even see them. Is that's the label, ain't it? Or is that the... Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Just looking at the bottle made me queasy. Stepan probably forgot about it ages ago. I cautiously surveyed the storage room of the shop. The air was thick, with the musty scent of wood, sweet mold, some kind of pickled goods. Stepan, visibly excited by the unexpected company, set about brewing tea. Stepan sat down at the table. He looked at me, barely holding back the questions that were about to burst out of him. It was clear that the old man didn't often have guests and was genuinely happy to chat with me. And there's probably like no one alive in this village. So how do you like it here? Not many folks from the city wander this way. I noticed how Stepan tried to hide his awkward excitement behind a smile. I smiled back, deciding to keep the conversation going. Yeah, it's really different here. Quiet, homely. Cows, goats. I listed the first things that came to mind. You rarely see this kind of thing in the city. Stepan nodded, lost in thought, still holding his cup. So, what brings you here? I paused to think about how to answer him. Obviously, I couldn't tell him I was hiding here from some shady characters. He might report me to the cops. I could just say I come to my grandparents' house, or make something up, like I'm here to buy a house. The thing is didn't I get handed down the house? So why would I be looking to buy a house when I already have a house? But if I say I'm looking to buy a house, would I get information on the Leshy? You know what? He knows. I feel like he knows I've been here. I'm here tidying up my grandparents' house. Which ones? Stepan seemed to ponder, sifting through memories of the remaining elders in this backwater. I decided not to make him guess. They're not here anymore. With us. Margarita and Nikolai Pavlov. Oh, I see. So you're Rita and Kolya's grandson. Ah, they were wonderful people. I can still picture them in their youth. Young folks always flock into the cities. But here in the village, you know, it has its own charms. Rita and Kolya understood that better than anyone. Back in the day, we were really close friends with them. In winter, we sled like crazy, and in spring, some in the garden, others in the fields from morning till night. And when summer came, everyone relaxed body and soul. Russian banya fishing, all sorts of summer celebrations. Stepan paused and gave me a piercing look as if trying to see if I understood what he was talking about. By the way, today is going to be one of the most important ones. The night of July 6th to 7th is Ivan Kupala night, if you didn't know. We loved that holiday when we were young. The soul, as they say, longed for song. We'd jump over the bonfire and tell all sorts of spooky tales. They said that on Kupala night, devils crawled out of their holes. In our village, people always believed in all sorts of devilry. We were old believers. They were so scared you couldn't drag them into the woods by their arms and legs in Kupala night. So anyway, I remember one of those nights and the whole village was out celebrating again. The guys were singing songs and lighting fires while the girls were, as usual, doing fortune telling. They'd put flower crowns in their heads and run to the riverbank. They'd let the crowns float on the water to learn their fate. Wherever it drifted, that's where their groom would come from. If it washed ashore, no wedding that year. Well, that's all just folklore, of course. Your granny, Ritka, sent her crown down the river too. And can you believe it? It floated a little, then shot forward like Kupala himself was steering it. And right there on the other side was Kolian. The girl started giggling right away, and Kolian, clueless as ever, just barely managed to catch Ritka as she jumped into his arms. That same summer, your grandma and grandpa got married. They were good people. Well, never mind. Stepan's word hung in silence. Even the wind outside seemed to be quiet. The story about my grandma and grandpa, simple yet so vivid, really struck me. I'd seen them in old photos, younger, happier than I remembered. Were they really like that? Jumping over bonfires, weaving flower crowns? I finally felt a strange bitterness, realizing how little I actually knew about them. What would they say about me now? The thought planted itself deep, but I quickly brushed it aside to avoid diving further. Stepan let out a heavy sigh and continued. Dang. You know, Alexei, in our village, sometimes it's like a fairy tale, I'd say. The hell? But not always the kind with a happy ending. You better be careful around here. I tensed up and raised an eyebrow, not hiding my surprise. What do you mean? Well, you see, a couple of years back, a family moved here from Moscow. They said they were looking for peace, quiet, and tranquility. So they arrived with two young sons in tow. And those rascals found no better pastime than to turn the whole village upside down. Every night the revelry made a racket like a festival, but there was no joy in it. You tried talking to them nicely, you know, but they couldn't care less. So anyway, one Kupala night, they decided to have their own kind of fun. They dragged some girl from a neighboring village and headed to the river through the forest, where even locals hesitate to tread during the day. They probably thought they'd find magic in our forests or whatever you city folk are after. I just seen that, bro. What the hell? Night passed, and by morning, they were nowhere to be found. The police searched the whole forest with dogs, but only found the girl by nightfall. They said she was scared to death, couldn't speak, just muttered and babbled incoherently. As for the boys, all that was left were a couple of bloodied scraps of clothing. It was like the earth had swallowed them whole. The district officer told me back then that those punks probably got the girl drunk and wanted to violate her. They dragged her into the forest, but no one could figure out what happened to them after that. They tried questioning the girl, but she couldn't say anything then or later. Her eyes kept darting around and she just kept mumbling something endlessly, so they couldn't figure out anything back then. The investigation concluded later that apparently some forest beasts had mauled them. And to calm the villagers, they made our forester, Petrovich, set up traps in the forest to keep the beasts away from the homes. That beast is the Leshy. I listened to Stepan's story with some tension. This is nothing like my grandmother's fairy tales. But somewhere deep in my subconscious, the image of Svarog emerged. My imagination instinctively tied the events to him. After all, encountering him in the forest years ago had convinced me that some fairy tales don't lie. I brushed the thought aside and asked the first question that popped into my head. Maybe the less she took them? 'Cause for real. Maybe the less she took them. Maybe it was the beast. That's for each person to decide what to believe and what to think. And the investigation will decide for itself what to write in the report. I think I've heard enough local tales for today. I really need to focus on figuring out how to solve my own problems. Time to head home. Stepan Wolfovich, thanks for the tea and the talk. I should get going. I want to tidy up the house. Yes, of course. Go ahead. Thanks again for fixing the radio. If you need anything, feel free to drop by. Here, take some bagels. Have them with tea. My treat. That's a cool guy. Without much thought, I grabbed a bag of bagels from the table. I didn't want to refuse and disappoint the old man. Besides, I originally came here for food. Thank you. Goodbye. Stepan kept beaming his trademark smile. I smiled back at him and stepped outside. Oh, his cat. What's up, Vaska? Had your fill of roaming? Well, come on in. What are you standing there for? Well, that was quite the trip for some bread. I slightly scolded myself for spending the whole day listening to the strange old man's stories instead of tackling my real problems. Stories were interesting, but I had to return to my grim reality. Approaching to my new home, I was already anticipating collapsing onto the creaky prehistoric bed with a satisfied face. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. I didn't drive here. Parked in front of my house was an old VAZ 2108 with 3 familiar faces inside. Shit. It was Pasha Foman and his goons, Vazia and the third one, can't remember his name. Well, hello there, villager. Yeah, hey. I replied, trying to hide my tension. Freak, I'm screwed. So what the freak are you doing here, Alyosha? Do you have any idea how much of pain it was to come all the way to this backwater? How the heck did you even find me? Shut your freaking mouth and listen. You'd work longer and more honestly, maybe you'd have figured out your stash to work SIM card up your ass. So we promote you, said you want a big job, and you thank us by running off with our stuff. You know exactly what happens with smartasses like you. Boma, I had nothing to do with it. When I was transporting the stuff, a car cut me off and some assholes with a gun took all our shit. Or your shit. What the fuck? You seriously think I'm that stupid? Boma, I've always done my job honestly. This all looks like a setup. Maybe you sent those bastards yourself and are now trying to screw me over. Are you freaking kidding me? Who are you doubting right now? You think it's hard for me to off you and bury you out here? No one's ever gonna find you here, you dumbass. I'm not trying to act tough, Foman. Calm down. I'm supposed to get you the stuff I don't have. I don't give a damn, you bitch. Whoa. Do whatever you want, give birth or shit it out. The situation was escalating. I clenched my jaw, feeling my racing pulse pounding in my temples. Oh, there's 3 people. If I stay silent, maybe he'll shut up and leave. I don't know. We'll stay silent in this case, because you ain't gonna do nothing. Make sure the stuff are in my hands by the morning. Try to run, you won't be able to walk anymore. Well, except to piss and shit yourself. Got it, Alyosha? Got it. Naturally. Detect. The sound of departing cars' engines start the countdown. Bastards. Great hiding spot, Alyosha. I sarcastically praised myself. Now what? What if I sell the house and use the money to buy drugs to replace the lost shipment? No. Selling the house is a hassle. Finding a buyer would take forever. And at best, I'd get 100 grand out of it. Running is an option. They'll find me again. Then I'm really screwed. Shit. What the fuck do I do now? In despair, I grabbed my head. I wanted to tear out my hair, scream, break something. None of that would help. The helplessness was driving me insane. Oh, Grandma Rita, if the world turns its back on you, go to the forest. There you find either salvation or death. The forest is honest. I suddenly remembered Grandma's words as clearly as if her voice were speaking right next to me. Wow. What if Grandma was right? What if there's really something out there? I saw it in the forest as a kid, I remember. If Tavarik was really there, he'd either kill me or help me. I'm screwed anyway. What difference does it make? There's always something strange about this place. The old folk stories, the vanished people, the whispers in the forest. I looked out the window. Got it. The forest is honest, I kept repeating to myself, staring at the dark grove. But we gotta go find Tavarik. Going there was madness, yes, but at least I'd have some kind of chance. There's no other way. A few minutes into the journey and the trees closed in around me as if blocking my path. Stepping forward was terrifying, but staying still was even worse. I'm going. Chapter 3. Clouds, almost completely hidden by the dense canopy of trees, hovered over the endless forest expanses. My ear is itchy. Moss, soaked with moisture, spread underfoot like a soft carpet, muffling the sound of footsteps. The air, rich with the scent of soil and decaying leaves, was damp and heavy, settling in my lungs and clouding my mind. The whisper of leaves, the occasional snap of wings underfoot, and the distant cries of birds created the illusion of another dimension. Here I felt like an insignificant human, an uninvited guest. Thoughts about my past life slowly filled my mind. The endless struggle for money in a quiet corner of the metropolis, where each new day brought new challenges. The life of a dealer, full of fear and the constant threat of disaster, poisoned the soul, exposing its flaws. I didn't even notice how I became a paranoid person who, on any ordinary evening, expected someone to break into my house. My imagination painted the faces of people whose lives were poisoned by my dealings, their eyes filled with desperate bitterness. Here in the depths of the forest, all my past felt like a burden dragging me to the ground, to the realization that I had dug my own grave. It's unfair. Why do I have to seek salvation now among these trees and darkness? What will the Banebush do when? I've, uh, what will the Banebush do when, if I find him? If the stories are true, he wasn't entirely merciless. After all, he didn't kill the girl from Stepan's story, who naively trusted the thugs from the capital. Maybe the Banebush only helped the innocent? If that's the case, I'm screwed. I chuckled. Thoughts about the Banebush and his possible protection no longer brought comfort. They only plunged me into new terror. What if he's not an ally at all, but another threat far scarier than any city gangsters? What if I just die here? I don't even know what's worse, surrendering to the cops or venturing into the forest at night to find the Leshy. What a fucking mess. I ventured deeper into the forest, which had already turned into a trap. Felt like I was in the jaws of a giant rabid dog, which were gradually closing, leaving less and less space to breathe. Every rustle, every creak of a branch made my heart skip a beat in fear. I remembered again how my grandmother, sitting by the stove, would quietly tell me her stories. "Remember, Layosha, the forest always watches," she would say, looking straight into my eyes. "It knows all your thoughts, senses, fear from a mile away. It feeds on it." Now her words echoed in my head like a warning. Having lost track of time and distance traveled, I tried to suppress the fear within. Suddenly, the deep silence of the forest was pierced by a plaintive howl. I froze. My heart began pounding twice as hard, threatening to burst out of my chest. Holding my breath, I tried to pinpoint where the sorrowful sound was coming from. The howl came again, more insistent this time, as if beckoning me. My heart pounded louder in my chest. Inner voice insistently whispered, "Wandering aimlessly through a forest won't get me anywhere." Obeying the call, I started moving, slowly drawing closer to the source of the sound with each step. I pushed through the thicket and emerged into a clearing bathed in pale moonlight, and there in the moonlight quivered the figure of a large black wolf. The trap had sunk deeply and mercilessly into one of its paws. Whimpering in pain and trembling in a hunched position, the wolf no longer tried to free itself. Its gaze was filled with suffering. It pierced me. The animal seemed to hope for my help. Well, what a quest, I thought. Stood frozen, unable to steady the tremble of my hands, as my emotions feverishly jumped from pity to fear. Gathering the remnants of my composure, I approached the wolf. Oh, of course I'm gonna help the freaking guy. The beast greeted me with a weak growl, full of pain and warning. Fear gripped me tightly, paralyzing my movements, but I gathered the last shreds of courage and decided to act. Alright, opening this trap barehanded isn't going to work. Good thing I kept the knife with me after all. mash. Messenger's hand barely held on the knife and slipped off the trap's mechanism. The wolf jerked its paw and snapped its teeth, and I recoiled, barely maintaining my balance. The wolf's eyes looked at me with a mix of pain and human-like understanding, sending a chill down my spine. I need to pull myself together and try again. Alright, I gotta mash. Oh, bro, what the... Can I go back? Oh my god. I can't. Bro, I tried to move my mouse into the thing and it wasn't working. Sorry, friend, it's not working. I quickly backed away. Oh my god, I can't go back. That just made me mad. Sure, I felt sorry for the wolf, but I came here to help myself. At least I tried. I justified myself trying to push away unnecessary thoughts but wandering aimlessly. I was tired, my steps grew clumsy, and my thoughts tangled like the interwoven branches above, but I kept walking. Stumbled into a clearing and barely had time to look around when a tall, twisted figure appeared among the trees. I froze in another wave of terror. There wasn't a single sound around, only my heart pounding with all its strength. A creature resembling a twisted human watched me, extending a hand in my direction. My sanity flipped further away, sinking along with my courage. For a while, I watched the silhouette that had frightened me, but it remained motionless. I slowly moved a bit closer. It looks like a tree. Stay calm. I decided. Then, when I finally dared to approach, it became clear. It was just a tree stump. A nervous chuckle escaped my chest. Futilely? Futilely. Attempting to shake off the tension. I looked closer to the unnaturally twisted tree trunk. One of the branches, resembling an outstretched arm, hung a fly agaric mushroom. Its crimson hue reminded me of a cigarette ember glowing in the dark. The question echoed in my mind. How could it possibly end up on the branch, as if someone had hung it up there just for me? Yeah, the forest seemed especially full of hints today. Am I supposed to eat it? Unexpectedly for myself, I shouted out loud. My voice echoed through the forest and faded away without receiving an answer. I can't save a wolf, but I'm about it. Why would I eat a mushroom? It kind of does look like a person, bro. Should I eat this shroom? No. No, it's just too stupid. Even for me, I don't want to experience the full spectrum of forest hallucinations. For a moment, I imagined myself collapsing, unconscious, here among the trees, only to be found by locals, either dead or foaming at the mouth. I grimaced and turned away. The forest stretched on endlessly, a labyrinth of identical tree trunks. I wandered for hours, glancing back at random landmarks, but none of them felt familiar. At some point, I decided to return where I had seen the mushroom. But I couldn't even find that. It seemed the mushroom and the strange root had vanished into thin air, leaving only a sense of anger and helplessness. Well, this is crap, I exhaled, leaning against the tree to catch my breath before moving on. The darkness gradually dissipated. The shadows that had terrified me vanished one by one, taking the last echoes of fear with them. With every passing minute, the desire to escape grew as strong as my disappointment in this failed and downright stupid endeavor. My legs carried me back toward the village, even though every cell in my body screamed that nothing good awaited me there. The forest I thought would save me turned out to be as empty as my stupid plan. What did I expect? That the Leshy would step out from behind a bush, pat me on the shoulder, and say, "Don't worry, pal, I'll take care of your debts"? Ridiculous. Even if such tales made sense, I clearly wasn't their hero. Great stroll, Ioka, I thought, mentally tallying all the mistakes that had brought me here. My head throbbed and my thoughts raced. Offering no clear solutions, the village was surely waiting for me. Those guys never left loose ends, and I looked like the loosest one. Damn it. I couldn't even hide properly. Now there was only one thing left. Go back and hope they'd at least hear me out before finishing me off. After some time pushing through thick bushes, I emerged into a small clearing not far from the village. Oh my god, these guys, who would have doubted? I smirked, staring at the nasty faces that had apparently been waiting for me all night. A desperate urge to retreat back into the thicket flashed through me, but it was too late. They'd spotted me. Foreman raised his head and stared straight at me. This guy. Good morning, Alyosha. Foreman began with a nasty smirk. What, couldn't hide? More than trudging through the forest, I was fed up with explaining myself to them. Couldn't. I replied indifferently. Are you fucking stupid? Bowman raised his voice, clearly infuriated by my misplaced calm. We trusted you and you screwed us over. Where's the stuff, Alyosha? Bowman, seriously, listen. I don't fucking have your drugs. You're pressuring the wrong guy. Instead of hassling me here, you should be looking for those bastards who stole your stuff from me. I remember what they look like. I remember their car. Maybe you should fucking get the word. Shut up, bitch. Foreman didn't let me finish. You really think you could screw us over? Asking you one last time, where the hell is my stuff? I've got nothing. Fuck you. I lost it. All the rage and fear compressed into one move. The knife was suddenly in my hand. Fuck, Foreman, you okay? That's what you deserved, though. Shit, where the hell's the asshole? Get a knife. Where the hell did this asshole get a knife? Get in the car and let's get the fuck out of here. I lay in the dirt, feeling the ground beneath me grow colder. The sky loomed gray with like dirty glass. And all I could do was stare at it. As the pain began, everything flashed before my eyes. Noisy days, random faces, big and stupid plans. It all seemed so pathetic now. To trade a life for a couple of fuck-ups. Someone would probably find it funny. I'd laugh too if it weren't for the burning cold that had already reached my chest. Dang. My life was fading away, pulling with my blood on this cursed clearing. Darkness finally consumed me. Last thing left was a heavy silence of the forest reclaiming its place. Dang. I really died. Wow. So the question is, do I play again to get a different ending? Because I think if I saved the wolf would have came, but the clicking was just irritating me, and I couldn't even click, and it was, dude, I could have got it.
I don't know. What do your guys' call on if I should play for another ending? But that's Banebush.